So this video is going to feel a bit weird for me, at least, because, well, also for any viewers, because I'm recording this later than expected, but it's going to come out pretty much relatively close as we get Harold Eldritch Parasite, relatively close to the next episode, if that makes any sense. So, and if it doesn't make sense, basically just know two videos are coming out in close to each other in terms of time. Literally 6 hours after this video, but we'll see what actually happens because Jordan is trying to do a thing. So, as we get Eldritch Parasite on our... Where is this pair? Okay. And we get into... Harold Eldritch Parasite custom character. You might have had random item stats, but it doesn't really matter because I'm looking for a spell here. But yeah, after about 6 to 8 hours, another video will come out at the time of this video's release. So, second, dexterity, knowledge, strength, maybe a light check, but this character has 3 strength, 4 dexterity, 6 perception, 5 knowledge, 5 charisma, and maybe, I don't know how much luck, but doesn't matter, because like I said, we're gonna do some, history club stuff, so, or, unless we get a free spell here, nope, Midasut Touch, which, could be interesting, but no. Because we're not going to be grabbing a weapon, I just realized. Again, Eldritch Parasite stuff. Again, for those who have not seen, I'll just go over this quickly for those who know. But if you haven't seen, on Eldritch Parasite, I run a very specific strategy. And this sprite is off. I wonder what causes a sprite to... what happens for a sprite here. But, anywho. Actually, I just forgot. Oh, I did take out funds. Okay, never mind. But, moving on here. I don't think I'm using a certain thing, but... Mermaid, plugin, basically. Mermaid's a Festival, Ward, Story, and Phantasms. That's quite bad, actually. We have to take Mermaids first. But, I mean, if we get Mind Drain or Ghostly Spear, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, let's find out what happens. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, a lot of my the past 48 hours have been me also being busy with real life stuff, but also... just taking a kind of break from my normal scheduling, whether it's writing, whether it's game dev, and so on and so forth. Even though I'm still doing World of War videos, so this is that's really only consistent thing I've been doing. I'm just keeping an eye out in case I accidentally skip over Mind Drain and or Ghostly Spear. But yeah, just taking a quick break, and that's allowed me to kind of think on... basically for specifically game dev, but really anything, how I want to make a character or story that may be too much wish that may have a lot of wish fulfillment or not. We're gonna go with just this Mind Drain, by the way. And we do have the hospital, so actually it would be in my interest to grab funds really quickly, or sorry spell or anything really. What was I gonna... oh no, funds. Oh, I'm going absolutely insane. Let's go for the hospital pass, and off we go. But, yeah, what I wanted to talk about was, yeah, whether or not you make characters or stories, or both, for wish fulfillment, or you try to make a... how should I say it? I'm losing the words because I didn't write any notes down. But, if you want to make a more realistic story, I guess, is the other way to say it. So what I mean by this is often, and again, as someone who... likes anime and or fantasy, we're talking about the isekai genre specifically, but this extends to really anything, because you could just be writing like a sci-fi story, and it could just be, you know, wish fulfillment as well. That genre, whether it's wish fulfillment or something more tragic or something more uplifting, you can't have too much of one thing. But again, at this point, we could also just be talking about what you are looking for in your audience, or what kind of audience you're trying to draw. Especially if you're making a project or you're working on a commercial project that is supposed to, looking at my kicks really quickly here. If you're working on a project that is supposed to make money, I guess, for lack of better phrasing, but you get what I mean. That does have some effect on whether or not you keep an audience or not, or basically what genre you focus on. Again, I'm not really speaking really clearly on this, also because I'm trying to focus on not dying, but I think we get this. Yeah, we get this 6 HP damage. But basically, there is kind of a, I guess, a balance that you have to look at, and again, it does depend on whether or not you have the audience in mind, or whether or not or maybe you're just trying to make a story on your own as an author, but basically you can't have your cake and eat it too, meaning if you want your audience to enjoy something while you're also trying to basically just write your own heart out, basically, or make something that you consider good for, you know, something that you just want to write for your own amusement, it's not impossible to do, obviously, based on several examples we see, but at the same time, and I think those things are intertwined as well, your enjoyment as an author and writing about something that the audience enjoys and that you want the audience to enjoy, and I'll repeat that again, that you or anyone as an author may want their audience to enjoy. You don't want you don't want your audience to not enjoy something, unless, again, depends on what your goal is. I'm trying to decide on whether or not I want to use the gruesome totem, because I also forgot that I did I not pick up the handcuffs? What I feel like I should have anywho. Another ghost enemy. We're running into a lot of ghosts lately, although the last ghost encounter I think was the second encounter, if I care about that, but I think we just take this in the face because we're about to hit our max reason, so yeah. We one-shot this, but eh. Now that being said, on me losing reason, that isn't so bad because, well, if we're looking at Eldritch Parasite as a whole, funny enough, I'd rather lose reason. It's just that on average, I end up losing more reason just in general. But if I had to choose between Mind Drain and Ghostly Spear, and whether or not I want to lose more stamina or reason, on Eldritch Parasite, I tend to be more open to taking reason damage than on any other run that's a non-Eldritch Parasite run. Because of a big factor of that, even though it shouldn't really be a big factor, is that in the Lighthouse you can lose up to 9 stamina depending on your RNG. And then you can only lose up to 5 reason. Oh no, you can actually only lose up to 5 reason in the Lighthouse. Oh my goodness, what is that? Anywho. And another way to talk about what I want to talk about here is we don't want to take 5 stamina damage here. Now, losing this much HP is bad as well, and I could just end up taking the Doom, but I think I'd rather just do this. I'll actually brace here for the sake of losing less stamina, keeping in mind that we do have a gruesome totem I want to equip, but whether or not we will get to equip it, part of this is in large due to the fact that I forgot to take the handcuffs, so that's something I need to remember to do. Oh my goodness, I missed an attack. That's not what I wanted to see. I was going to miss one of those kicks eventually. I just wanted it to not be during that boss. So now we are in a lot of trouble. Oh my goodness, I can't click. But as we do our best to survive here. And to go back to the topic of writing, as I kind of just autopilot this, even though I shouldn't. I've been looking into things that are basically wish fulfillment stories. And I'll even be more specific to say isekai genre. But that does not mean I have to take story now, by the way. We're going to eat so much damage. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab a weapon really quickly. If I can even grab one. No. We'll take Kyoko, but we really want a weapon. Okay, good. But yeah, wish fulfillment. And when I say wish fulfillment, I define that, at least in this instance right now, at the time of this, me doing this recording and whatnot, I define that as basically a protagonist that is essentially not necessarily a Gary Stu or an overpowered character. Oh my goodness, by the way, the damage. But they get a lot of things going in their favor, especially as it relates to, hey, they just get MacGuffins that appear for no reason, whether they are, say, MMORPG rules that just come out of nowhere, or, as we gamble on a 90% here, or, I could have just did this strong. I'm going crazy right now. I'm not tired, by the way, this is me. Yeah, or they just start out with something that just happens to make them a character very, very powerful. That's also, I also just reminded myself that I have burns right now. And we're taking extra damage, but I mean, there's only so much I can do. So, which means I was wondering why I was taking 5 damage during ward. This burns were the reason why, but funny enough, we're not in as much pain as it looks, but I still need to take this stuff out. So, take the handcuffs, put the police patrols. But yes, that's not to say wish fulfillment or wish fantasy or escapism, if you want to go that far. Escapism type works of fiction are inherently bad. They can certainly be very good. I'm sure you, the viewer or listener, can think of examples of any work of fiction that maybe just be essentially wish fulfillment. And there's always some amount of wish fulfillment in, I think, most stories, funny enough. I think that's just an inherent nature of a lot of stories. But that doesn't mean that you go all out making a, say, an unreasonable situation. But at the same time, you don't want something to be, oh, well, unless that's your point. Again, this goes into the topic of intent and whether or not you want your audience to enjoy certain factors of your fiction. But if you want to make a tragedy, so a realistic tragedy, so be it. If you don't want to give a reader escapism in your work of fiction, so be it. If you actually want to go the other direction and say just make a wish fulfillment where the protagonist is almighty powerful and gets all of the romantic interests, whether it's a male protagonist or female lead, yeah, you can do what you want. I was deciding whether or not I want to just sever this, but I think looking at -2 hull damage, I'm just going to Mind Drain. But that's something to transfer that to what I'm thinking about. Again, at least in terms of the games I'm developing, not just my writing, but games I'm developing, because this also relates to me writing fiction as well. But whether or not I want my characters to be almighty powerful or not, which is kind of the case for one specific character. And I'm deciding, well, maybe I should just do what I want to do. By the way, I think I'm just going to take this hull damage really quickly here. But I still want to Mind Drain. I just don't want to lose reason for no reason, even though we're losing 2 stamina as well here. But I think it's for a good cause. So, back to max 14 reason I go. Hey, we're finally closer to normal. I was going to say not, but it's fine. Because 13 max reason is what you would normally have on a Harbinger run. But anywho. Also, that was something I wanted to mention. Yes, I know Panstaz made more posts in the Discord server at this point. So, let's see here. None of these are really going to help me. Reporter's Bag could be an interesting pick, but no. So, off we go. Probably into Festival, and then Phantasms. So, here's hoping I don't just doom out in the thingy-majiggy. I just bamboozled myself because I just realized I did a thing. You know what? The doom here is actually going to help out. But after that, yeah, not as much. We do have Kyoko that we can let go of Kyoko at the end of the run, but trying to figure out where I want to equip the Gruesome Totem, because I could just end up using Mind Drain a whole bunch and not having enough reason to survive the run. But as we get brain damage, now I'm a bit more scared of Phantasms. Basically, we're going to lose 3 extra max reason. But as we lose reason, I would rather that than just tank my max reason at full. That's -5% Doom. I guess I do feel bad for the results of that event, lore-wise, but I mean, Doom. Not that I would make the same decision in real life, but gameplay-wise, we're trying to survive here. But yes, I have gone through stories as of recent to kind of also refresh my mind while I had some time off. And yeah, there's a lot of wish fulfillment. But I think on average, I mean, as much as I don't like that myself personally, I understand that wish fulfillment / escapism / whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there are better phrases to explain based on the examples that, if I were to name them, examples I know of. But it's escapism is a very popular genre among the general audience, I feel. But obviously, you can't just go crazy as well. Especially if you don't want to just burn out an audience, at least at this current point in time, where there's so much wish fulfillment, but it does have an audience. But it has if you're catering to that audience, for lack of a better word, there is you do need to take certain steps here and there, because once you should know the traits of what an audience or certain readers of a certain genre like and don't like to read about, unless you can make things interesting. And your ability to make things interesting in your work of fiction, whether it's a story, whether it's a game, whether it's a light novel, whether it's a manga, whether it's just a work of art, maybe it's even a picture book, you need to know what you're doing. And yeah, we were going to probably fail that. I mean, we were going to fail that regardless, even without brain damage, but you know. Yeah. Wow, we rolled a 12, so it really didn't matter what our stats were. But again, that's something I'm thinking for myself. Now, as much as I don't like characters to be overpowered, for lack of a better word, again, there's probably more accurate ways to say what I want to say, but I've seen a lot of, let's just say, absurd moments, and I did not like that. Now, I could just be called a hypocrite later on, because as I'm making the game I'm making, I mean, I literally am working with overpowered characters. By the way, this is 14 damage, so off we go. But yeah, as I'm working with overpowered characters, the parts that I'm more normally focusing on is more story-based stuff, so it's not like I'm going absolutely crazy anyway. And I think the video game medium does kind of allow for some leeway in lore of having overpowered characters, if that makes any sense. As opposed to, say, light novels that, you know, just go crazy, especially light novels that are very active, let's just say. And by that I mean these are works of fiction that are not all written in one chunk. Now, some very popular light novels or web novels are, but I've just realized I'm sitting on 2 level ups, by the way. But I think those examples are very few and far between. Now, at the same time, I'm going to sound like... because this is the part I want to talk about as well. There are works in which they're not wish fulfillment, and so they try to power down, let's just say, their protagonists, or give them conflicts that kind of are just thrown at them, even though it kind of doesn't make any sense. And we're free to kind of just fail these left, right, and center. But I think you get what I mean at this point. This is what I meant earlier when I say there's a very fine balance. I was trying to get to this point, but I was also trying to survive. We should be able to survive this run. But yeah, I'm basically going through it on my own, seeing if my stories make sense or characters make sense, and yeah, I guess we'll just continue onward with that. Maybe talk about it more, because again, this recording is going to happen close to another recording I'm going to do in the future. But anyway, without further ado, not much else to say. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Thank you for watching. Bye!